Recording in progress.
Is Kristen supposed to be?
Okay, welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the San Benito County Planning Commission. It is 6 o'clock and I call the meeting to order. If we could please read the temporary procedures.
The San Benito County Planning Commission welcomes your comments. Each individual speaker will be limited to a presentation total of 3 minutes. When addressing the commission via Zoom, phone, or in chambers, please state your name and county in which you reside for the record. Please address the commission as a whole through the chair. If participating on Zoom, select the Participants tab and click the Raise Hand icon. If you are using a phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. When your turn arrives, you will hear that you have been unmuted. If participating in person in chambers, please complete a speaker card identifying the item on which you wish to speak and provide your completed card to the clerk prior to consideration of the item. Speaker cards are available on the table at the entrance.
Thank you. Commissioner Toledo, if you could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could please get roll call.
I would love to, okay. Let's see here. Rodney Bianchi, District 1.
Present.
Richard Way, District 2.
Present.
Robert Scaliotti, District 3.
Present.
Robert Gibson, District 4.
Present.
Celeste Toledo Bocanegra, District 5.
Present.
All commission members present and accounted for.
Thank you. If I could get an acknowledgement of certificate of posting.
Also move.
There's a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Department announcements.
Hi, good evening, Commission, and those are here today. So just in the last month, there's only been 2 new applications, and if you pull up on the screen. Okay. The first is an existing use permit that's been working through their condition compliance. They are converting an existing winery building for wine tasting room, and it has a restroom and a storage room building outdoor. The current owner had bought it from the previous owner, and when they bought it, the original use permit had allowed for a Type 2 ABC license, which basically, you would grow and produce your own wine. And what they're looking is not to produce their own wine, they're just going to serve wine and beer. And so it's a minor modification to an existing use permit, but it requires it to come to Planning Commission, and we're looking at bringing that in June. The second application They come in last year, but it looks like they just finally paid their application fees and decided to move forward. And it is going to be along Olympia Avenue, and it's going to be for truck parking of 26 trailers and 10 trucks on the property. Their semi-trucks will be moved on and off of the property 1 to 2 times a day. The trucks not in use will probably be there for a day or two. They'd be the typical semis, about 72 feet long, 8.5 feet wide, 13.5 feet tall. There wasn't any proposed screening, but they are located at the back of the property and away from the right-of-way as the proposal stands, and it will get processed and then brought before you.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Yes, I also wanted to just have a reminder announcement that we are having the joint Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors meeting on June 6th at 4 p.m. And then on June 7th, just a reminder, we're going to have a special Planning Commission meeting to go over some additional zoning code updates. So we will have a busy June. And that's all the announcements for today.
Thank you. Public comment. Is there any general public comment that is under the purview of the Planning Commission but not on this agenda?
So in chambers, we have Barbara Snyder. You can please approach the podium. You have 3 minutes.
Apologize, I'm not a public speaker. Okay, this is in pertaining to last week's presentation with Steve Liu. Greetings, commissioners. My name is Barbara Snyder, and I live in Hollister. I live in San Benito County. I have the dubious honor of living underneath the detention basin from Santana Ranch. Okay, so I am here. This was written originally for the Board of Supervisors, but I think you need to hear it too. I'm here to talk to you about Anderson Homes wastewater flooding our properties. In the last 5 years, the past board has heard from my husband, my neighbors, and me many times, mostly in writing, some site visits with little results. We're hoping now that we have new faces on the board and the Planning Commission, we will get some results. Mr. Loop's presentation on drainage was nice, but if you falsify the figures, the process doesn't work. And that's what's happened with Santana Ranch. December 2019, we turned Anderson Homes into the Regional Water Quality Control Board when the detention basin was not completed by our rainy season. The wastewater went around the basin, cut a ravine about 5 feet tall and 15 feet wide. Volumes of silt from the floodwaters deposited on our properties. The floodwaters engulfed our property and flooded Mansfield and Fairview Road, and they still do, as you can see, this last year, and last 5 years, actually. They have been issued 7 notices of violations over 5 years. They are currently performing, the Regional Water Quality Control Board is currently performing their own research on the wastewater runoff. They have required more documentation and more action from Anderson Homes to correct their violations. I have some major points. Basin A, specifically from their violation notices, basins A and B are inadequate to retain the amount of water that is currently being directed into them. They need to be modified and increased in size. Calculations that Santana Ranch submitted to the Regional Water Quality Control Board are inaccurate and do not reflect the actual runoff from the houses currently built. 4 citations issued May 25th, 2022 reflect 3 errors in their calculations for these basins. That's on page 5. I'd like to look that up. I have sent some of you those citations. Perforated pipes in basins drain water directly from the basin rather than retain water. To quote December 14, 2022 citation, the current retention capacity of basins A and B to be close to 0. Is that, wait,
That's been 3 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Bridget Bowman Thorpe, you may approach the podium. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. Since Barbara Snyder was talking about Santana Ranch, I might just add, I also live on Santana Ranch, and I want to add to that since I remember Santana Ranch was approved in 2009, while the county knew that the landfill needed to be expanded, the forms are already there, and still yet they approved Santana Ranch, knowing that they also will run out of landfill space. And so you have now a development of most likely of 1,100 homes, and yet you also now have to discuss a landfill expansion that affects 1,100, currently not 1,100, probably like 600-700 homeowners who live barely 1.5 miles away from the landfill. This landfill expansion, if approved, would be massive. It's for the next 50 years. There will be garbage trucks driving on Fairview. That's the designated haul route. The alternate haul route would be 25 and Best Road, and now you want to build a campus, a high school campus and a college. And then also you have a landfill expansion. Think about the impact on this community. And I was so happy last week when the Integrated Waste Management Task Force presented the transfer station. I think that would be a real solution for this community because, I mean, if you would approve a landfill, or the Board of Supervisors would approve a landfill expansion at this size, it will be noticed. The neighboring counties and residents will know, oh, Hollister, where the big dump is, where the garbage mountain is, you know. It's 95 garbage trucks you will notice on the freeways. And I want to point out economic analysis and estimates of the expansion project on last year, 9/27/22, was if it's increased, let's say it says the revenue would be 27% of gross revenue of daily tonnage is greater than 1,500 tons. 27% the county will get. Who gets the rest? Waste Connection. Waste Connection is the big winner. And Recology. By the way, 27% is, it would come out to $7.44 per ton, which sounds pretty good. But you know what? If I go to Starbucks and get me a large latte, that's about $5 now. So here the county would get $7.44 for a ton of garbage, and the county would also have to pay for the damage of the roads. Thank you.
Thank you.
There does not appear to be any more public comment in chambers, and there does not appear to be any public comment via Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Public comment is closed. Consent agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Point of order, sir, Mr. Gibson, Chair Gibson. I noticed that we took a motion on the posting of the agenda posting, and it was seconded, but we didn't actually vote on it. And in the minutes from the last meeting, I see that we did actually take a vote on the posting. So I think we probably should.
Legal counsel?
It is appropriate and customary to vote to acknowledge the certificate of
Okay.
posting.
So let's go back to item 4. We have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner Way.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, were there any additions or corrections to the minutes? None. Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries 5-0. Thank you. Regular agenda, 9.1. Presentation from the San Benito High School District regarding student demographics and enrollment.
Real
cetera.
quick, if we could also get a motion for proof of publication, 7.1, at the, right above minutes.
Unlike a certificate of posting, there's not a necessity for a motion or a vote. It's simply a prerequisite for holding a public hearing, that the notice be posted and it be of record. That the notice be published, agendized, and be of public record.
Okay, thank you. 9.1, please.
When you do PDF, what's the... you have to download it.
Oh, thank you. How'd she do tonight? Okay. I missed it. Oh, okay.
I would just do this.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Is it a clicker?
Just do the arrows.
Good evening, everyone. Chair Gibson, Commissioners, I'm Sean Tenenbaum, proud Superintendent of the High School District. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come before you. Thank you to our staff and the audience. Mr. Jeff Small and I, the district's financial advisor, are going to work through a presentation. Please feel free to ask questions. We thought it would be good to give an overview of what we're currently offering, our student demographics, our enrollment, what we're projected in terms of enrollment, funding sources that have worked through our facility master plan currently, and then lean into, if you will, the second high school concept. And I think that will shed some light on some of the questions that we're receiving from the community, as well as other elected officials. So please feel free to ask questions, and thank you again for the opportunity. I do want to thank Commissioner Bianchi for the 4 years of his daughter at Hollister High School. If you don't know, she'll be going to Oklahoma State here next year. And I just had the honor to share and provide a few messages to our families. We have Senior Awards Night. We had $390,000 of local scholarships for our high school seniors. So I know Abby's going to get a fair share. Yeah, so congratulations. So without further ado, welcome from my governance team to yours. You can see the board here and myself. Just really proud of our trustees and the longstanding commitment they have to the high school district. We'll start with demographics and student enrollment. And I know you've had an opportunity to take a look at this presentation, so please ask questions. On the left, you'll see enrollment. On the right is demographics. On the left, you'll see in blue is the district, which encompasses San Andreas Continuation High School as well. They are part of our district. In red is the Hollister High School. And this comprises the demographic pie chart, all of the students in the district. So just over 3,500 in the district, just under 3,500 in the school. I always think that this is a great representation for folks in the county. On the left, you'll see our geographical boundaries for the high school district at 1,108 square miles. We are actually larger than the state of Rhode Island. And we're actually larger in geographical expanse than LA Unified School District. So we serve kids from all different walks of life, all the way up into the corner of Santa Clara. Probably one of the most important questions that we have from the community and other elected bodies like yourself, one is, where do our kids come from? And where are the greatest density of our students? So we've done and put together a GIS mapping presentation. We have a layered protocol just like the county does. What you see here is every dot represents a household with a child in the school in the district. And so we've been able to, over a period of years, take a look at every child from the years 2009, 2010, to our current population. And what we're looking for, one, is the sheer abundance. Where do they live? Two, are they coming from new development? So I wanted to point out, in the purple, you'll see like the kind of dense purple areas. That is new residential development and a new student to the high school or the district. We've also broken this down by ethnicity. So we can take a look at where different students are coming from based on their ethnicity and background. Unduplicated count, so if they're free and reduced lunch. So we can really start to disaggregate where our students live and the concentration in relation to a potential second high school down the road. And it's a very important statistic. One of the things, we always strive for the greatest range of options upon graduation. And I'm really proud of Abby and our seniors. We'll have over 800 seniors probably walking on June 9th. And our goal is to make sure we're providing them options. I had the opportunity to have a few folks on campus today, class of 1971 and class of 1973. And they couldn't believe the size of the campus, but the breadth and depth of the curriculum. And a lot of them were in the ag program and did a lot of ag work in our community. Craig Williams is one, and he was in the ag program, and we went in the shop, and he said, I'm just so pleased that a high school in California still values career technical education. So we have one pathway called A to G. A to G means that you are preparing yourself for CSU and or a UC system. And upon completion, you should meet those entrance requirements. You'll see students are taking a variety of courses and curriculum. Those are all prescribed by the state. There is a little flexibility in what you offer and how you offer it, but most students are having to, in terms of a rigorous curriculum, take all of these courses and more during their 4 years. And then you get to the career technical education graduation pathway. So a student, much like myself or Jeff, upon their second year in school as a sophomore, you can make a decision. Do I want to be in the career technical education pathway and graduate with a CTE emphasis, or do I want to move and go through a different pathway and be A to G compliant and go to UC Berkeley, if that's my goal? Now, we do have students, Jeff and Sean, the student in the middle who's doing both. So they're able to actually go down a career technical education pathway, be certified for a high wage employment, and then also possibly go on to Fresno State. So we wanted to provide this as an option, and our kids and our parents drove this process. So you'll see here on this particular chart, we have 13 pathways in 9 industry sectors offered at the high school. Along the Central Coast and in Northern California, I don't think there is another high school that has the depth and the breadth of curriculum like Hollister High School. That's part of our unique nature. Everything from transportation, which is automotive, to manufacturing and product development, which is metals, art, metal design, fabrication, etc., up to agriculture and natural resources. So we have 4 ag teachers on campus now, and then we have a full-time culinary teacher, and all of those pathways are providing opportunities for students to either, 1, be employed, or 2, learn a different skill. And our students actually are driving that process as well. And then we're really pleased to add photography this year. And so now our students are taking digital photography and using another creative outlet on campus. So one of the things that I wanted to mention here, everybody, is Hollister High School, we have 141 courses. So I want to stop for a second. I went to high school, we had about 1,400 students, graduated class of 1987. We did not have 141 courses. So that breadth gives a lot of choice to our parents. It gives a lot of opportunity for our students. We want our students to be able to choose, do I want to take an advanced placement course, which we have 21 of them, all the way down to the CTE pathways, as I mentioned, and then do I want to lean into dual enrollment? Dual enrollment is an opportunity for a student to be enrolled in a college course and a high school course at the same time. So let's say Chair Gibson and I are in a class, and it's dual enrolled with Hartnell. We're both going to earn credit from Hartnell at the same time that we're going to earn credit from Hollister High School. Why do we want to do that? Statistics have proven that students who start early in college tend to finish. They also tend to transition smoothly. Second thing, many of our kids come from very financially underserved families, and we know that. So we're trying to reduce the debt, right? The greatest thing upon graduation, many of our students in the country are talking about, is student debt. So we want to try to reduce that. So we're really leaning into dual enrollment with Gavilan, Hartnell, Cabrillo, et cetera. But college and career readiness is not an or. For our students, it is an and. And I want to make sure that I emphasize that. It's not or, college or career. It's college and career. We want to make sure that they're prepared. So no matter whatever career path they're going down, they have that opportunity. Few awards that we've been recognized for, and then I'm going to turn it over and we'll kind of toggle back. But if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Jeff Smalls.
Well,
up
thank you
next.
so much for having us. Wanted to talk a little bit about how the school district is funded. This is something that's not widely understood because it's very complicated. The operations of the school district are funded pursuant to the state's local control funding formula. And the best way to think about it is think about filling up a bucket of, take a bucket of water. But in this case, what's happening is when you get your property tax bill, you'll see that there's a 1% charge. Well, a great portion of that 1% charge will go to, gets dumped into the bucket first. That's the property taxes. That makes up about 42% of the district's funding. The state will then backfill the remaining, 58% thereabouts to fill up that bucket. So it's really a combination of property taxes first, then state funding. There are certain school districts in the state of California that are very wealthy, big, powerful wealth tax base, and they are only funded through property taxes and not by the state. That is not the case with the San Benito High School District. So where does the school district spend its money? Approximately 74% of the funding that the district receives from a combination of the state and the property taxes is for salaries and benefits. There's 346 district employees. The district will then spend another 10% on books and supplies, another 10% on operations, just less than 4% on capital outlay, and the remaining on just other programs. But in total, if you look at state funding and federal funding, the general fund budget is about $51 million. So as we all know, and we've been here many times, and we've been verbal about growth and development, not because we're pro-growth or anti-growth. Our charge is to simply educate the students who arrive in the district, whether they have matriculated through elementary school, junior high school, and then to high school, or they're new to the community. Right now, Hollister High School is full. And I don't know if anybody has been by the high school recently. Towards the end of the day, I mean, you see the traffic and and congestion.
I know a few are nodding, yes. We can always arrange a tour, by the way.
So anytime you get a lot of people in a small environment, it definitely poses challenges. There are safety challenges, there are educational challenges. The district has been very successful in maintaining a very high standard in terms of being able to educate those students, but being full and at capacity, there will come a time where that educational standard is really going to diminish. And honestly, we're at the precipice. So it's very important that the district be very active and very vocal about delivering that second high school. So, but delivering a second high school is not about the administration or the board saying this is just what we need. We are very interested in input from the community. Later, Sean is going to talk about our community outreach that we've done, not only with the city, with the county and other districts, but also with the community, whether that be through the business council, the Rotary Club. But it's really just engaging the community, getting feedback, and conducting ourselves in a way that is in alignment with the community interest.
And thank you, Jeff. I think one of the things that's really important is we're not just planning for today or tomorrow, we're planning for a decade or two from now. And I think that's really critical. When I first started at San Benito High School District in the 90s as a teacher and athletic coach, obviously we didn't have as many students as we do now. The growth obviously came to the county, be it residential growth in the city and the county. And we were a little bit, I would call it exponentially growing in the 90s, and you probably remember that time. We were growing about 100 students a year. And then we plateaued with the moratorium. And then there was the recession. And then we had another blip on the radar of exponential growth. And here's where we are. So truly, if you look at this dividing line, we're about 3,500 students, as I shared earlier. We're projecting, again, these are projections, somewhere in the neighborhood by 25, 26, maybe 3,900 students in the district. That's if everything comes to fruition. Again, the houses are built, students come, etc. Again, projection. Jeff mentioned our capacity. So we have to run an analysis with the state of California to determine how many students we can house. And that is 3437 as of this fall. We do that every year. It's part of our annual product that we have to do as a school district. Our enrollment, our peak enrollment in the fall was 3467 on the high school campus. And if you've been by the campus, we put 7 new portable classrooms on the far side by the softball stadium for this August. That was our first step in interim housing for our students. When I say interim, because we're going to have to go through many iterations of that before we realize the goal of a second high school. One of the things we've shared is, okay, where are you getting your numbers? So Jeff and Sean, we work with consultants out of Sacramento. We also work with the RMA department here, who have been fantastic. The city of Hollister. So we're looking at all dwelling units, all building permits, making sure we're tracking each project. But we're also working with the state of California. So this is an interesting statistic, if you will, from the Department of Finance. You'll see on the left different counties. You'll see on the right different counties. What this is growth projections for the fastest growing counties in the state of California. Many are rural, many are away from the ocean and or urban areas. You'll see Placer. And then number 6, you'll see by the year 2031, 32, 1,765 students in addition to what we have in the pipeline. And again, that's the DOF, Department of Finance, looking at what the projections would be. That is a high school by itself when it comes to fruition. And then you can see where they're coming from. Many of our students are migrating with their families. They're looking at the affordability in the state of California. And so you can see a lot of them are coastal communities and or urban areas. You'll see Los Angeles losing 250,000 students. And so they're moving away, moving out, finding jobs, affordability, etc. Jeff, facility master plan?
So thank you. So the district has undertaken a number of facility master plans throughout the years. We are very proud of where the Hollister High School campus sits today. It's a 125-year-old campus. It has been modernized, it's been expanded, and you'll see this is the campus as it sits today, and the buildings are color-coded based on where funding has come from. So whether it be from impact fees, state funding, or local bonds, the district, as you know, passed its first bond issue in 2014, then again in 2016, and has been able to really build out this campus, expand it with the 7 portable classrooms that Sean mentioned, but also the science and robotics building, which really helps our students compete with Silicon Valley. You know, the education is here, they're getting it. Sean and I were at an event just, I don't know, last week, where they were being honored by the County Office of Education. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud of the expansion that's taken place. There is one building left. It's the multi-purpose room kitchen, believe it or not. With a campus with 3,500 kids, the cafeteria is built for 182 students. Imagine that. So what's happened is nutrition has been very decentralized. There are long lines for kids to get meals. And we all remember what it was like being in high school. You know, you got to get from one class to the other. Hollister High, you got to get from one side of the campus to the other. You got to stand in long lines. So it is very much impacted. And nutrition is a very important part of getting a good education and keeping the students competitive.
Well, I think just one thing to add to that, Jeff, is, so we have one cafeteria. Did anybody go to Hollister High? Okay, so same cafeteria, same place, same bat channel. But we have 4 different snack bars on campus, on each campus. So we have a snack bar. And now what we've done to really decentralize, and I think that's a great term, is we have electric food carts. So if you've seen, they drive around in their little electric mobile carts. And so we're setting them up to try to pull our students away from different areas to try to decentralize them. Food is the #1 commodity on our campus, beside the restroom. And so wherever we can stage food, we're going to be able to pull our teenagers. And I think, Jeff, just to accentuate, the Planning Commission, I think, would be really interested to see the electrification of our fleet on campus, from buses to our electric vehicles to the electric food cart system that we're now employing to be more sustainable.
So fiscal stewardship. This is all about the business operations of the district, the behind-the-scenes look at the type of accountability we have in our school facilities program. This is made up of local controls, it's state reporting, it's compliance with federal laws, the Securities and Exchange Commission. We have responsibilities, we have filing. We have responsibilities with respect to the Internal Revenue Code. Those need to be monitored. We have certain state reporting on how we're spending funds, and we have to report that to the state. And at the local level, we have our bond audits, we have citizens oversight committees, we have debt policies, and we do an annual update to inform the public of how we're doing, how the money is spent, what our tax rates are. We really want to maintain that trust that the community has instilled in us, and by reporting back, we feel like we are giving back and showing them not only that we're completing the projects that were promised on time and in budget, but we're also doing it in a responsible way and keeping promises.
Yeah, do you mind
Yeah,
if I
no.
kind of just lean in a little bit here? So I want to thank the community for their support of our 2 bond measures. And Jeff has been our bond advisor. So you'll see in blue here 2014, in red 2016. So the community was extremely generous with $102.5 million. And working with Jeff and folks in Sacramento, I want the commission to understand that for a district to be eligible for state matching funds, you first have to have a local match. So let's say you're building a building. If you don't put 50% up as a local provider, you will not receive 50% from the state of California. And we say 50, but really it's not 50. It's about 33 cents on the dollar. So what we've tried to do, and what we've done really well, is we took our 2 bonds and we created a third. When we created a third through state eligibility, there are 2 buckets. One is modernization, where you modernize a building, and the second is new construction, where you're actually building a new building, or a pool, or a facility. So every project in our $2.5 million palette, we've applied for eligibility. Each project, we create eligibility, we submit it, and then the state, over a period of 7 to 8 years, has sent us $37 million. So again, if you don't have a local match, you can't receive the state dollars. There is no fund in the state of California directly for school facilities. I want to repeat that. There is no fund from the state of California for school facilities, only if there is a statewide bond. And the last statewide bond was quite a few years ago. If the legislature in their state budget puts money for public infrastructure, they can earmark it to a school district, or a county, or a city, or a fire district, or Caltrans. But then you're competing with every other public institution. So school districts are very small in terms of the amount of money they would receive through that process. So our goal, when we started, we said we're going to maximize every dollar that the locals provided us to create a extension and or a third bond, and then continue that. So now we have applications at the state for $11.6 million, which are in line. So I submit today. Jeff represents LA Unified. He submits tomorrow. He's behind me in line. And then we have Stephanie, Stockton Unified, then she's behind us. So it's a first in, first out system. So you're waiting, and time is going by. So if a statewide bond passes, then we're able to receive eligibility for 11.6 million. And then the state likes to do interesting, creative things. You have to create eligibility going in, and you have to show your eligibility coming out. So now there's 2 bites at the apple. So if you're eligible, LA Unified, with X number of students going into the process, 8 years later, they've lost 250,000 students. They may not be eligible, so then San Benito High School District would move forward. So it is a complicated process, but I thought I would just explain.
No, I think that that's a great point, and it certainly brings in a lot of money into this community that it would not otherwise have without that local support. So again, very grateful for that. So not only are we focused on complying with the rules and being as aggressive as we can to get state funding, we want to maximize our financial resources. That does mean going after the state funds. That means structuring our bonds in a manner that is responsible. We've been able to deliver the $102 million worth of bonds at tax rates that are 27% below the tax rate promise. I just want to repeat that again because that's amazing. 20% less than what we told voters. That's what we've done on the tax rates. Other areas too, refinancing the bonds when we can. We saved $1.7 million. Using energy efficiency projects. If you go out to the high school, you'll notice that there's solar carports, there's a solar field in back. To date, we've saved about $1.5 million. The district went out and actually did a bridge loan to advance fund the science and robotics building. By doing that, not only were we able to build the building, but we were able to pay it off early, saving $900,000. But if the district went to go and build that building today, I don't know that it could. So again, trying to be responsible, but really being assertive in representing the community, getting those financial resources in to provide the best possible education that we can.
So let's lean into the second high school concept. So you know a little bit about what we're offering academically and curricular-wise, our facility plan, our funding, our finances, which we're really proud of, to make sure that we have stability in the community. You know, San Benito High School District is a hub of the community and has been for 127 years. So I'd like to really stop for a moment. This is a great illustration of the city of Hollister and the surrounding county. Obviously, most of you know that the high school, or if you don't, the high school is in city and county. Nash Road on the north side, if you stand in the middle of the road and look north, you're in the city. If you look south, you're in the county. And so here, you can see the upside down thumb, if you will, or right side up thumb. That's where we are. This is our best road property, county property, off of Airline Highway. And then the blue is Gavilan College. So in terms of proximity, we're close to being neighbors with their future site. And then the purple or magenta areas are the planning corridors or planning areas that have been identified over a period of time from the city and taking a look at residential growth. And so when we take a look at, where does the high school need to meet the demand for future students, right? Not just Best Road because we own it. Each of these little dots, the kind of heat little dots there, they represent future students, future residential development, potential, right? So we're looking at what is planned. So if we have a planned development that's been approved, Dividend Homes, I believe it is, if they build, based on our student generation rate per home, we're anticipating X number of students. If it never comes to fruition, then that dot goes away. And if you take a look at the concentration, we expect new homes here, or new students here, and up in the kind of north area. Our goal is to try to maximize the location, Best Road may not be the most viable site, but it's a good asset. So we talked about Best Road, 71 acres, flat, buildable. Is it the most ideal site? Maybe, maybe not. But we're exploring, and we've been quite busy working with landowners and identifying different potential areas, working with the RMA department and the city. We met with the city for a couple of hours yesterday to really make sure that as we're working in parallel with the general plan, we're working in parallel with the plans of the county. Because we definitely don't want to be in a predicament where we're having to build a high school that is outside any of the growth areas and or meeting the need of our students and families. So here you go, 71 acres. It is a nice site. I think it was bought in 1993, 95. Very good asset. So the folks that we're reaching out to, and obviously, again, thank you for having us tonight. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your support. City of Hollister, San Benito, the Intergovernmental Committee. We met with the Water District many times. Obviously, a big emphasis for us is developers and the BIA. We've been trying to be as active as possible. And then community organizations, Rotary, some of the different groups in town. Our goal is to get out and really share the message because there is a need and a necessity. And one way we did this was we created a facility needs committee. We had over 60 members. Some of the RMA staff here actually participated all 7 meetings, so thank you. But we had students, parents, we had elected officials, we had experts from Sacramento participating, we had staff members, we had students, we had alumni. And what we did was we focused on a topic each month, starting with introduction and background, all the way down to findings and recommendations, which will be presented to the Board of Trustees on the 23rd, so next Tuesday. And they're talking about educational programming, facility development, ideal location and or potential locations. So that was all driven by the community. And so we wanted to share that. It will be on our website, so we'll have an annual plan as well as the presentation. And ultimately, when we sat down and we got input from the San Benito County Business Council, and we asked them a few questions, which we won't pose to you tonight because you've been very generous with the time. But we asked the council, just like we asked the city, et cetera, is a second high school needed? Is it a necessity? And many people have different viewpoints. You're large, you offer a lot. We want our children to go there, we went there. Yes, but we will be too large down the road. We will be 4,000, 4,500. And just to give some comparison, we're the 3rd largest in terms of student enrollment in Northern California now. So most high schools are declining enrollment. Is Best Road optimal? We've heard a lot of commentary. Most folks think you own it, you can build on it. The counter argument to that is, are there going to be students? Is it a walkable, bikeable, rideable site? And then there are the factor, can we sync with the county and your plans? That's our ultimate goal. We don't want to build a high school that is not running parallel. I want to make sure I share that with you. Because if we do, then we're counterintuitive to the general plan and your focus. And then last but not least, what type of educational programs should we offer? Our kids must compete in a world that's unknown. I don't know about you, but there are a lot of things out there that they're turning so fast, especially with AI and what is happening in a technology world that is changing and morphing and an evolution every day, that our students have to be adept. They have to be able to adapt, and they have to be able to collaborate and problem solve. So we have to be able to provide those type of programs. And we also need to be able to provide programs that kids can work with their hands. Many of the programs that we have on campus are the reason why our kids come. So we truly believe that it's a great investment. A little statistic for you. And then if you have feedback, please share it with myself, share it with Jeff, our board. We're open. I gave a tour today from class of 1971, as I mentioned, 1973. I do that every week. If you'd like to come on campus, love to have you. we can get into classrooms, we can talk more about it. But thank you so much, and if there's any questions, Jeff and I are here.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any public comment?
There does not appear to be any public comment in chambers or via Zoom.
Thank you. Any? Commissioner Way?
Yeah, I have a question and a follow-up question. Best case scenario, everything goes perfectly smoothly, no glitches in approvals or anything else. When would you foresee the first student entering the new high school campus?
It's the $1 million question. Thank you. If everything went our way, all the I's were dotted, T's were crossed, best case scenario, fall of 28, 29, realistically maybe 29, 30, but our goal would be to try to accelerate to get to 28, 29 so that we can really, how should I say, take a little pressure off the current high school.
Okay. And my follow-up question is going to sound accusatory, but it's not meant to be. How did it get to the point where the current high school is full and we're going to have 5 years of over-enrollment minimum? Was this completely unforeseen, or should we have started planning sooner? I guess I'm just kind of confused as to why we're in the situation that we're in.
Well, I think, it's another good question. So when you take a look at the enrollment growth of the district, which had plateaued and was very static for many years, the high school was designed as a larger, modern high school in the state of California. It was not designed to be a 1,200 or 1,400. And we had reached an area where we were 2,800, 2,900, which was very comfortable. And then there was the recession, as I mentioned, and then there were a lot of different residential developments, both in the city and the county, that happened to populate at once. And so Jeff and I tracked every project, and what happened, in terms of taking a look at if we had one project that may have staggered 1 year, and we had another project 2-3 years out, we had another project 4 or 5 years out, that would have been ideal. But instead, the plan approvals and the projects happened at once. So trying to manage the expectation from both the city and the county in terms of residential growth approval, just like the infrastructure here with roads, just like the infrastructure for library, just like the infrastructure for all the things that other amenities that may be affected, we too got caught up in that.
Okay.
But one thing I would say, Commissioner Way, and I really appreciate the questions, is our facility master plan process started 7.5 years ago when I took, 7 years ago when I took the job. And we've done a phenomenal job of trying to stay proactive. And that's why we're here today. We've got to get out in front of that. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Are there any additional comments?
Anyone else before I go?
She can go.
Okay. I have several. For the curriculum, and thank you for the presentation today. It was very well, thank you. And for the curriculum, how long has this curriculum been going on? Because you do have, I did take a tour recently, and our high school that we have now is just amazing. And I do appreciate the curriculum for our future youth and young adults. So how long has this curriculum been in our high school? And with that same, or if you want to answer that one first.
Sure, and thank you for taking the tour, and thank you for the compliment. So it's been quite a few years that we've had an A to G and a CTE pathway graduation option for students. Less than 10, I want to say maybe 6, 7, 8 years in total. But our curricular offerings are just like you. You have different things that you're approving. So we're approving new course development all the time. So we are looking at pathways that may be needed based on the industry sectors that are coming, and pathways that may be dying, because our students will tell us. If they don't sign up for a course, they're sending a big message. So it's an ongoing process.
Okay, and following up with that one, will the new high school have this same curriculum, yeah.
Perfect question.
Provide.
So, perfect question. Provided apples to apples, we would provide an equitable, so equity among our educational programs. Our goal is to make sure that the educational programs at Hollister High School flagship High School 1, would be mirrored at High School 2. Now, we may offer a different pathway or industry sector at High School 2 that maybe pathway is offered at High School 1. And I'll give you an example. We have a wonderful career technical education building, automotive, metals, wood shop, and agriculture. We may not have all of those industry sectors at the second high school because we don't want to replicate. However, we may offer certain particular courses that are truly impacted. For example, culinary. Our culinary program with Mike Fisher, many of you know Mike, is one of the most impacted programs in our school district. But we may not offer, and I want to mention this, we may not offer the same type of facility, but we want to offer the same rigor and robust curricular offerings.
So, and I apologize, I have like 3 more. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well,
So following with that, if we have a youth closer to the new high school and would like to take curriculums at this older high school, would that be an opportunity for them?
yeah, it's a great question and one I get all the time. So, and thank you. So we visited probably 6 or 7 brand new high schools in the state of California to really help us with our planning. Ones that have been built and just opened, ones that have been built and had a graduating class. So a new high school would start with the 9th and 10th grade population. And then we would add an 11th grade, and then we would add a 12th grade cohort. So we would phase everything in to make sure that we're actually stable and we're moving and we're actually connecting well. There are 2 different options. One is open enrollment. So when a new high school is built in the community, and I'll give you a perfect example. We went down to Kern High School District in Bakersfield. They're the largest high school district in the state of California. They have 19 high schools now. So many of you have been to Bakersfield. Big community, spread out. High School 19 is on the far southern end, which was all ag, farmland at one particular time. To create excitement and entice families to take it, they offered open enrollment for any student in the district, and they would provide transportation there. And we would look at that as an option.
Okay.
But we also, I think it's really important, we're hearing from our families, they want their kids to be able to walk to school. You know, there's a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic. So if we can create a walkable, bikeable campus, that may help alleviate some of the problems too.
Perfect. I agree. For this new high school, you will, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, will be funded through the new homes that are being built, right?
Part of it, yes.
And the state,
So
that will be.
Yeah, we'll share. There's 4 prime funding mechanisms.
Okay.
And there are others as well, but let's talk the 4 prime. The first would be state matching funds that would be eligible through a state facility bond and or money that the legislature would put there. So we'd create eligibility to go after. The second would be new homes, new development. So residential developers come in, they have a plan approval. We have developer fees. We try to negotiate with them to get a much higher fee than the statutory requirement. So our statutory requirement right now per square foot is $2.98. If we extrapolate that, and I think Jeff did that before, it really doesn't pencil out. So we can't build a new high school on $2.98 for every new home. So we have to look for a local contribution, the new homes, we have to look for the state, and then we have to be creative. There are many different programs out there, and I'll give you a prime example. So when you build a career technical education building, like our CTE building, you can apply for CTE facility money, which is earmarked through the state of California. So many districts, when they build a new school, they built like a cybersecurity wing down in LA. So they received a local contribution, they received developer fees, and then they applied for more money to finish the project through CTE facility money. We would do the same. And so it really has to be a combination.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And my last question, San Andreas High School is within the same high school
Right.
district, right? How are the children there doing? Do they get the opportunity to try to better themselves and their education and try to go back to the high school? Will they be able to better their education?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the students at San Andreas, which is a 10th through 12th grade school in our county, are part of the district. The county office actually operates and runs the daily program, and yet we pass through the funding. It's an interesting model. A student who goes to San Andreas, whether it be by their own choice or choice of either Hollister School District or us, however they got there, has the opportunity to come back. So as long as they're in good standing, they meet all of their curricular goals, their academic goals, behavior, et cetera, whatever it might be for that particular child, they can matriculate back. And we do have many students that do. So if we had a second comprehensive high school, we would have greater choice and breadth, and we would provide that same opportunity. And so many students, they can go from Hollister High to San Andreas, and you've probably known some, and then they go back and they graduate from the high school.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, because my understanding was the same as that's how it was years ago. I wasn't
Still
sure
the
if
same.
it's still the same.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do want to give those at San Andreas the same opportunity, educational opportunities.
Absolutely.
Okay,
We do
thank-
too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bianchi.
Yes, thank you. I'm not going to get too far into the high school because we're still working on some legal stuff, so I don't want to comment too much on that. All I'm going to say is, since I've been on this committee board, it seems like all I do is apologize because we're the shortfall of money in this county, and I feel like it's and that's where you guys are at. We should be so flush with cash with all the homes that we've built that you guys shouldn't have to be worried about funding, and that's unfortunate. And it seems like that's all. Whenever I talk to anybody, it's always, I'm sorry, we're just trying to clean up the mess that was from administrations prior. So great. We learned a lot, and I appreciate it, and I think that's all that for now. I'm gonna say. Thanks.
Commissioner Scagliotti.
Yes, I have a couple questions. Question number one, how much money per square foot do you need for the high school district when a builder comes to you? You said 290 something or 279 is not enough. What do you need? And let's hold these developers' feet to their fire. How much do you need?
Well, if I had to put a dollar amount on it,
Let's hear it.
I would say 31 grand.
Per house.
And that includes the 298, and that includes the 298 that we're getting. And I would break it down this way, right? If you have a school, a high school, you're going to have to divide the cost of that high school over the homes that it's going to take to fill it, right? So let's assume for a minute that it costs a new high school. These are expensive. It could be $200 million today. It's a lot of money. You have 5,000 homes, right? That's going to generate 1,500 students. That would fill up a new school. Well, that's $40,000 per home. Based on the 298 and your average square footage of a new home of 2,000 square feet, that's $6,000. Throw in $9,000 that we're going to get from the state. That's $15,000. So what is that delta? In just round numbers, it's about 25 grand. So every new home that's built is a direct cost on the community.
Sure.
And that's why we're so vocal
Fine.
about it. And yeah.
And I think it's a very fair question, and I want to share that, because one of the things that, when we visit a new high school community, the first thing we ask, how is it funded? Because we want to know what was the local contribution, we want to know what the residential developers paid. So we visited a brand new high school in Paris, California, Liberty High School, very same kind of area that we're in, very rural, agrarian, big home development right behind the high school. So they negotiated to pay their fair share to help offset the local contribution, which is what Jeff is talking about.
Which was how much money per house?
Over 25,000.
And we're not getting it. Yeah, well, I get it. I'm just making a comment. My other comment is, that piece of property on Best Road, I personally don't think that's a good place to put it because you don't have any infrastructure out there. You have no sewer, no water, so that's just a dead horse. So you need to find somewhere closer to town where you have the infrastructure to grab onto and go. Otherwise, it's gonna cost more money to go out there and take care of that. No sense. Just an opinion.
It's good. No, and I echo the sentiment. You know, we want to be adjacent to residential development. We want to sync with the county plan and the city plan. So buying that property was a great asset years and years ago. But if the county is not going to develop there, and there are no amenities there, and there is no public infrastructure going there, it's not a good site.
Sell it.
Maybe down 20, 25 years, 30, 35 years, it might be. I don't know, but you're right. And I think, our goal is not to come here to say, hey, we want your opinion on whether Best Road is viable or not. We're already doing that homework. We just want to hear and get that reinforcement because we know that if we can't get sewer there, it doesn't matter. Can't get water there, doesn't matter. So, thank you.
Any other comments
It's
or
okay.
questions from the
Not an
commission?
issue, but something else.
You have another one? Are you good?
No.
You're good? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Public hearing, 10.1. Adopt attached resolution that recommends that the Board of Supervisors adopt the attached proposed draft ordinance provisions to amend section 19.13 surface mining operations.
Hi, I'm going to invite up Bruce with Benchmark Resources.
Good evening, Chairman Gibson and fellow commissioners. My name is Bruce Stubing. I'm with Benchmark Resources. We're an environmental consulting firm. We have two offices, one in Oakland and one in Folsom, California. And our specialty are mining projects. We assist San Benito County with doing their annual SMERA mining inspections. We help them with CEQA review of expansions and new mining projects. So this is sort of our specialty. And then about a year and a half ago or so, I started working with Ariel. We were already had a relationship with her. And I had mentioned to her that there had been a lot of statutory and regulatory revisions to the statute that were not in the existing ordinance, and that she may want to consider recommending to the board to update their ordinance to incorporate these requirements. So about last September or so, we started working in earnest on this project. So the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act is a state statute that requires the mining operators to reclaim their sites to address environmental issues and to put their site in a usable, readily usable, adaptable second use. As part of that, they also encourage the production, conservation, and development of the state's mineral resources, primarily aggregate resources, but other minerals as well. So what each lead agency has to do, most of them are counties, but there are also some mining projects in incorporated cities, but each lead agency has to develop a ordinance that takes all those state and federal, state and regulatory requirements and regulate the reclamation and mining of mining in their respective agencies. And the ordinance pertains to these issues. I won't go over to each of them in detail. Just touch on a couple of them that are, I think, interesting to the county. First is the development standards. Typically, the Surface Mining Reclamation Act only focuses on the reclamation. So after you're mining, how are you going to reclaim the site? But what San Benito County's done is they have development standards in their ordinance that applies to actually operation. How are you going to impact the roads? What are your aesthetic impacts? How are you going to impact water resources. So those are county-specific requirements. So those are one of the things that your ordinance has. In addition, that last one is the renewable energy generation facilities. That wasn't a part of the Surface Mining Reclamation Act when it was originally adopted or even updated, until probably 5 years ago. And so when that was updated, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, one of your operators said, hey, we want to put some solar facility on our site. What do we do about this? So they utilize that new requirement, which allows solar to be put on a site, provided that you implement an interim plan that would then ultimately ensure that there's money to remove that site, but then it's removed before you're done mining. So it's just to encourage solar and renewable energy on a site. So your chapter 19.13 of your code is your ordinance. And so what we've done is we went through and updated that on all these different topics. And I will be available to answer any questions you have on any of these, but I just wanted to just touch on, just to provide you a list of all the different revisions that were done to your ordinance to address these respective sections of your ordinance. And this table here, and probably it'd be better to look on your handout, but this on the left-hand column is your existing or the proposed section of your ordinance. The next column has to do with how your existing ordinance deals with it. The next column describes what revisions were necessary and why we're proposing revisions. And then the penultimate column has to do with that summarizes what changes were made. And then the last column on the right describes the ultimate conformance with statute. So the other thing that we did working with your staff was there were several requirements in your general plan dealing with different mining associated potential impacts that were not reflected in your ordinance. So what we did is we went through and looked through your general plan, and when there were specific requirements that would apply to a mining project that were not in your ordinance already, we actually went and incorporated those into your ordinance, so you don't have to basically look in two places to find those requirements. And that was spearheaded by Ariel, and she gave us a lot of good guidance on how we can identify those and develop those, so those are all now in subchapter 13, so 13.1313, which are development standards. So now you'll have them all in one place, and it's much more synthesized. So in terms of where we're going from here, so we've provided both a track changes so that the commission can see the revisions that we've made, and also the public. This was circulated to stakeholders as well as all the mining operators. And then we also have a clean version of what it would look like if the Board of Supervisors adopts that. So what we have done is we've also coordinated with the State Mines and Geology Board staff, because ultimately after your Board of Supervisors approves this and adopts this ordinance, the State Mines and Geology Board needs to certify it. And what's happened in the past is one agency has tried to do this before you. The board approved it. It went up to the State Mines and Geology Board, and the State Mines and Geology Board had all these questions and comments, so it got pushed back to the local county again. And so that's one thing we want to avoid, is that. So we've been working with the staff to try to make sure that they're comfortable, that their board is going to be comfortable with whatever your board approves. So we've done that concurrently, and we've kept your staff involved in that, and they've been involved in conversations with them. And then after, if we get a recommendation of approval from here today, we are hoping to get it to before the Board of Supervisors on June 13th. And if they approve it, then we take that up to the State Mines and Geology Board and get it certified. And then you'll have an ordinance that addresses all the new statutory requirements. With that, we're open to any questions or comments.
Thank you. Is there any public comment for this item?
There appears to be no public comment in chambers or via Zoom.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any comments, questions, concerns? Commissioner Way.
Yes, I'm confused on under next steps. The first thing listed under next steps is public review and comment, and yet it also seems like we're being asked tonight to vote on promoting this forward to the Board of Supervisors, so which is correct?
Both are correct. So we're looking for your recommendation to take to the board. We should receive comments back by the end of May from the state, and we'll incorporate if they have anything to the board.
And as far as public review and comment?
We've already sent it out to all of our mine operators. We received one comment, and we've already responded to that.
And the general public, other than the mine operators, has already?
It's posted in all of the required,
Okay.
when we post our agendas, it goes out.
Okay, and I just want to get a sense of the rest of the commission. I don't personally feel like I've had time to review this in detail since the packet came out. I haven't obviously kept track of it as closely as maybe I should have, but I would really prefer to continue this personally, just based on the length of the changes that are being made and just wanting more of an opportunity. But, you know, I don't know if others feel the same way.
Is that it for you, Commissioner Way?
Yep, thanks.
Commissioner Toledo?
I see that we were provided with the draft, so, are we provided with the one before? The
existing ordinance?
Yeah, the
No, we didn't get a
existing,
copy.
and then,
There's a track changes, which shows what it was and what it changed to.
okay, so I also agree with Commissioner Ridgway that I think we would need more time to review.
Good.
Is there more comment?
Commissioner Bianchi?
Sorry. I just, sorry for my ignorance. Was there a problem, or why are we revising
Yeah,
this?
and I'm sorry if I was instructed to try to make this presentation concise, so I'm sorry if I didn't explain this. So the main purpose of this update is to ensure that your ordinance reflects statutory and regulatory updates that have occurred over the last several decades, particularly since 2017. In 2017, there were a lot of revisions done to the inspection process, to how the financial assurance cost estimates are reviewed, to making sure that you have a reclamation plan that has all these specific requirements, state licensed people that are preparing different sections. And so what we've tried to do, rather than what your existing ordinance does, and when you go back and if you do continue this, what I'd recommend that you do is focus on that track changes version, because what that does is that shows you what your existing ordinance existed and then how that's been revised, and what your existing ordinance incorporates by reference and just references a lot of statutory sections, okay? Which Ariel and I didn't think were very helpful to your operators and the public, because basically you're tasking them to go and find a statute on the internet or try to track down a law that has a whole bunch of different requirements, rather than explicitly providing those for you. And so that's what we've done, is we've taken those requirements. We're not adding, and I think the reason why we haven't gotten any comments, we're not adding any additional mandates and requirements beyond what the county's already required in their general plan, or what the state's already required in their statute. So really it's trying to bring your ordinance up to current standards and make it explicitly understandable to the public. The other thing, because you have a great consultant, Benchmark Resources, we already make sure you follow all these requirements and go through this process as part of your reviewing your reclamation plans, going through the process of doing your financial assurance cost estimates. But now we want to do, if we dropped off the face of the earth and you had to do this in the future, we want to make sure ordinance has those specific requirements. So it's essentially just bringing your ordinance up to date.
And the track changes version is on the website?
Yep, it was part of your packet as well. And I just want to echo, we're making our ordinance consistent with state law. Right now, it's not. We're following state law, but the ordinance doesn't reflect that.
Commissioner Banky, did you have any other
Well,
comments?
I mean, I think, I don't know if this is a good time to bring this up, but I think that's part of getting these packets on Friday or Monday. There just isn't enough time to
Right.
go through. I mean, we all have jobs and, you know, I feel like the other commissioners, I mean, I would like a little more time to at least maybe do some research on my own to know. I mean, right now I would be VC voting kind of blind because I'm sorry. I didn't go through this a fine tooth comb. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't do my job, but I mean, I have a job.
So, would you like to make a motion to postpone? I do want to mention our regular June meeting is significantly going to be, there's a lot of projects on there right now. And so I think either we could put it on, or if you wanted to also have a special meeting, you let me know. We have a special meeting on June 7th to go to discuss zoning code updates, so I could put it on that agenda.
I
Just
won't
talk
be at
code?
the June 7th meeting, but if that's what works best for everybody else, then that would be
Okay.
all right by me.
Before we head down that road, Commissioner Scaliotti, did you have any comments, questions, or concerns?
So one comment, I talked to a mine operator this morning, and he didn't know anything about these changes.
Yeah, we sent to because we go to every site and do annual inspections. So our mine inspector made sure that his person of contact that he had, so his mine contact that we provided that to them via email. So if you wouldn't mind, Commissioner, providing us the person's name and email address, we'll make sure they get them. The other thing I'd like to encourage you, particularly for you, Commissioner, is as you've reviewed things, if you have any questions or concerns, please provide those to Ariel, and then I'll work with her right away. And hopefully between now and June 7th, we can make sure that all your concerns or comments have been addressed going into it. So when we get to that meeting, it can be sort of a short and brief meeting.
Well, that's
And-
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
I just wanted to offer that staff is happy to meet one-on-one and have meetings with each of you, or as long as there's not more than two of you at a time, we can schedule meetings and go through the code as well.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think the next meeting would be fine. I have from now until then to do my research, and I'll be ready to vote, as far as I'm concerned. Personally, now, I'm not speaking for everyone.
Back to Commissioner Scaliotti.
I believe we should continue until June 7th also,
Okay.
so we have more time to look at this.
I'll move that we continue this item to
Oh,
June 7th.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. We'll go back to it. I spoke with 3 mine operators, and I was told by 2 of the 3 that they hadn't heard about it. So my concern is that outreach wasn't what we thought. And before we go ahead and modify anything, regardless if it's just to copy state law or comply with state law, I'd like to have workshops where the public knows what we're doing instead of just decreeing that this is what it is. So I am definitely in favor of continuing this until at least June 7th. And I would like to do additional outreach to the stakeholders so that they have an opportunity to give their voices. And I'd also like to see what the written comment or verbal comments were from the one that you say you have. I think it's kind of important we listen to the constituents.
Yeah, well, I think I appreciate that, and if you could provide the names and email addresses to us so we can make sure. Yeah, so if we could get your contact information, if any of you know Andrew Heineman, who does your annual inspections, he provided us contact information for all your sites. So if he gave us the wrong addresses, or maybe you have a new manager or something, I apologize. The intent was to make sure all operators received this. Like probably 2 weeks before we actually posted the agenda, so we really went out early. So I do apologize. The intent was to make sure everyone received it. Andrew Heineman, who does your annual inspections, provided us that list and actually distributed those. So my apologies if you didn't receive it. Just to summarize the one comment that we did receive, it had to do with the penalties. He was concerned that because the state statute actually has that you can have an administrative liability up to $5,000 a day, which is for sort of egregious violations. And so he was concerned, he's all, hey, if I don't file my annual report, am I really gonna get fined $5,000 a day? So what I did, and I explained to him, and then this was paraphrased by Andrew Heineman, who responded to him, was that that is a maximum, and that the first violation, once it's noticed, that can be appealed to the planning commission, so it'd be the director issuing it, that can be, and then you're required to have a hearing first, and that the director is required to weigh past transgressions, severity of it, potential harm, so there's a wide variety. So I tried to explain that to him. We have not heard back from him. So that's sort of what the concern was and what we addressed. I'll have Ariel forward you the email exchange, but
Okay.
that sort of summarizes what was there.
And I'd also like a meeting with staff, because I did not grasp that there was any changes, like redlining would be easier to understand. This looks, I didn't understand what I was reading apparently. So I'd like to be more clear on what we're changing, every word that we're changing, and a justification for why and what it means.
Yeah, and so that table in your package, we actually did a more complicated table, so I'll also include that to you. And then we also do have a track changes, and that's what I definitely would recommend you look, and I thought you had done, is we have a track changes version, which is, I think, one of the attachments to your agenda.
I don't, well, if it's
anyway,
there, I don't understand
clearly,
what it was.
yeah, understood. Thank you for your comments, sincerely. Our intent is to bring you guys up to current statutes and regulations and make it clear to all the operators and to the public what the applicable requirements are. So
Okay.
we
Thank
appreciate
you.
your input.
So we have a motion on the floor to continue this until June 7th, 2023 for this special meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a few seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Yes.
Thank you. Public hearing is over. Commissioner announcements. Do any commissioners have anything to announce? None.
None.
Oh, Commissioner Toledo.
I just would like to add to anyone in our community who would like to get a hold of me through email. I still don't have that set up yet, so I will, as soon as I do,
You're
through the administration,
official.
I would like to know the community's comments or concerns as
Okay.
well.
Thank you. I have a whole list of stuff, but I'll just fire off an email. Anyone else? Comments,
No.
announcements? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Don't all fight for it.
All motion we adjourn.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all for attending.